Welcome, everyone, to the Investing in Hope virtual event. Please feel free to drop your name and where you're calling in from in the chat. We'd love to greet you. My name is Matthew Baer, and I serve as the Executive Director of Homes for Hope. I count it a great privilege to be gathered with you today in this space to celebrate the incredible work of Hope over the past 26 years. Before we jump into the meat of our content, I want to set the stage for what you could expect. I'll start by clearing up a few assumptions you may have about us as an organization. But then the bulk of our time will be spent celebrating all God has called us to be as an organization. This will be followed by an opportunity for you to partner with us in our growing mission. We also encourage you to stick around afterward for our time of Q&A and networking, and feel free to submit questions throughout the event using the chat feature. And okay, so first I'm going to clear up some assumptions that you may have. For those of you who might be new to Homes for Hope, number one, we aren't an affordable housing organization. We don't build charity homes or buildings in places like Mexico, and we're not similar to Habitat for Humanity in any way. So who are we? We're a building industry response to global poverty. We partner with the building industry in a variety of ways to provide microloans for talented entrepreneurs who are living in poverty in some of the toughest places on earth so that they can build successful businesses and break the cycle of generational poverty in their families and communities. Because we address poverty holistically, we have a history of seeing 97% of the loans we make repaid and then sent back out as more loans to serve even more families. This means that the first 12 loans our founder sent to Ukraine 26 years ago are still cycling through and growing in impact to this day. The donations never go away. They're here for perpetuity. We were founded by one of America's top builders, and we were designed with builders in mind to give entrepreneurs living in poverty around the world a hand up, not a handout. It truly is entrepreneurs investing in entrepreneurs. And because of our unique model, one Homes for Hope project, which Greg will talk a little bit more about later, impacts literally thousands of families across generations. In all we do as an organization, we strive to glorify God. He is the ultimate, eternal, and transcendent hope for us and all those we serve. So I know this is a lot to take in here at the outset, so let's take a step back and dive deeper into what all this means with our first presenter. Peter Greer is Hope International's president and CEO and a Homes for Hope board member. His favorite part of his job is spending time with the entrepreneurs Hope serves, whether it's harvesting coffee with farmers in Rwanda, dancing alongside savings groups in Haiti. Those are incredible videos. If you ever get a chance to see those, I recommend it. Or visiting the greenhouses of entrepreneurs in Ukraine. As an advocate for the church's role in alleviating poverty, Peter has co-authored over 13 books, including 2 with his good friend David Weekley, who isn't afraid to ask us tough questions and keep us honest as an organization. Peter and his wife Laurel live with their 4 children in Lancaster, PA. He regrets not being able to be with us in person today because he's either on a plane or on his way to a plane. So he was kind enough to record this for us earlier. Take it away, Peter.
Thank you so much, Matt. And my office is right next to Matt's. And I can tell you, Matt is an exceptional leader. Matt, we are so grateful to have you leading Homes for Hope. Thank you for your impact on this organization, on the broader mission of Hope International. And it is an absolute joy to be in this work with all of you. But Matt asked me to share just real quickly about the Dreaming Beyond story, the story that starts many years ago, a story that starts after the fall of the Soviet Union, when the wall came down, and then in 1991, there was an economic collapse at that moment. And I was talking to my colleague, Andre, who was living in Ukraine at that moment, and he talked about how this was a time in history that was marked by incredible fear and uncertainty. Personally, he experienced that. His income was $5 a month. And there was all kinds of questions about how are we going to provide for our families? What are we going to do? But I love that moments of fear and uncertainty are also moments when followers of Jesus for the last 2,000 years have said these are moments to show up. And one of those individuals who said this is a moment to show up is Hope International's founder, Jeff Rutt, home builder who has a big heart. And his faith said this is a moment to lean in, not to lean back. And so in the early 90s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, as there was so much fear and uncertainty, he said, let's show up. Let's partner with the local church, and let's figure out how we can make as big an impact as possible. And in 1997, Hope International was founded. And it was founded not just to provide short-term aid, but longer-term development. It was not about importing foreign solutions, but it was about finding Ukrainians and then partnering with them, investing in their dreams, investing in their abilities, and watching what has happened. There has been a consistent posture from Hope International from 1997 to today of saying moments of fear, moments of uncertainty, this is a moment to show up. And with Hope's posture, this is also a moment not for us to show up with what we have, but to partner with incredible individuals around the world that are having that same question and that same motivation of how do we show up? And I was in Ukraine just a few months ago, and while I was there, I had the opportunity to meet a Ukrainian entrepreneur. He had an ability to leave his country, but he said, no, my calling is to my country. My time is now. And so even though there is incredible fear and uncertainty, Artem and his wife Alina and their family, they have said this is a moment to show up. So he started a business, he started new restaurants, he employs internally displaced people. And being with him, it was so clear that he said, this moment of time, this is a moment that I believe God is on the move. Yes, there's fear. Yes, there's uncertainty, but this is a moment to show up. And so that has been the posture of Hope International. And even as we've gone through the turbulence of the last few years, even as we have seen poverty rates increase for the very first time, the consistent posture of Hope International is that fear and uncertainty is a moment to show up. And the way that we're doing that, there are some new ways that we've been doing that over the last few years. And we created the most ambitious plan that we've ever had coming out of the COVID crisis. But in 2020, we said this is a moment when we saw the impact of Hope International. We saw the difference that Hope International was making for families as they experienced a crisis. And there was something so deep inside us to say, we see the impact. If a family was partnering with Hope, they were better able to withstand a crisis. They had a community. They had the hope of Christ, and they had a savings account and the ability to have economic activity to provide for their families. And so coming out of this crisis, we said, this is a moment to dream beyond. And we set some of the most ambitious growth goals that we've ever set as an organization to say we want to double the number of churches that we partner with. We want to increase from 2 million families to 3 million families served. And we had invested $1.3 billion at the beginning of the plan. We said, what would it look like to accelerate the impact and to invest $2 billion in the dreams of the families? And I am so pleased that as we are gathering here today, we are on pace or ahead of pace on those ambitious growth goals. This has been a time unlike any other to see far beyond what we could have ever asked or imagined. This has been a time of incredible growth. And I love that the home building community, you get it. You understand fear and uncertainty better than perhaps any other industry, but you too understand the courage that it takes to say, let's show up. So we are so grateful to partner with you. And as we have been partnering with the building industry, as we have been partnering with Homes for Hope, we've been able to not just see growth in terms of the number of people that we've served, we've also been able to see geographic expansion. I wish I had time to tell you about the exciting things that are happening in Kenya. I wish I had time to tell you about the launch in West Africa, in Benin, and so many other places. This has been a time of unprecedented growth coming out of fear and uncertainty, and we are so grateful. You know, just two other things that mark Hope International, and the two other things that just really are at the core of who we are. And as we continue to expand, we believe that we do not do this work alone. We're an organization that has a bias towards action and a bias towards partnership. And so not only do we thank the Lord for the partnership with Homes for Hope, but also our posture as we expand around the world is saying, how can we partner with other like-minded organizations? So one of those that has just been terrific to partner with is Compassion International. And just yesterday, I was with the president of Compassion, Jimmy Mulatto, and expanding even more. How can we bring this mission of hope alongside the good church-centered work of Compassion to accelerate the impact in the years to come? We are so grateful for that partnership. And lastly, we are also committed to reaching frontiers, to say, as an organization, how can we reach the most marginalized communities? How can we make sure that we're not playing it safe, but we're going to those margins of society, investing in them, and bringing this message that they are so dearly loved by God, and they are loved by us too. I had the opportunity to be with one of these groups. It was a group of individuals that were deaf or hard of hearing, and I got to see alongside a courageous leader in Rwanda, Jacqueline, and got to experience the way that Hope International is pushing to those frontiers and watching the joy, watching the dignity, watching the impact, and it was a time of unbelievable celebration. So those stories, we know they are possible because of your partnership, because you have said, yes, fear and uncertainty around the world, but we choose to show up. And so what we have experienced at Hope is what we read from the Apostle Paul in Ephesians 3:20. He said, "Glory to God, who is able to do far beyond all that we could ask or imagine by his power at work within us." At the end of the day, that is what this is about. It is about his power at work, and we have the joy and delight of being part in it. So Matt, thank you for allowing me to share, and Homes for Hope team and community, we are so enormously grateful for you and the impact that you are having around the world.
Amen. All glory to God. Well, thanks, Peter. I now have the incredible privilege of introducing our next speaker, Judah Mooney. Judah is passionate about building high-impact teams and transforming communities. He's the president of Legados Inversiones, a residential and commercial building company in Paraguay. Judah's commitment to Christ and to alleviating poverty through sustainable development led him to found Diaconia, Hope's partner, in 2011. And you're going to love to hear the story about about why he founded that organization. Judah lives with his wife, Mary, and their 3 children in Asuncion, Paraguay. How did I do at pronouncing that, Judah?
You did pretty good today.
Thanks. Go ahead and take it away.
All right. Wow, guys, I'm excited to be here, and thank you so much, Matt, for the invitation to share with all of you this afternoon. I really feel at home. As I sit here in Paraguay with builders and developers, and it just takes me back to my roots and where I feel at home. It's a little bit where my grandfather was a home builder and my dad was a carpenter, and so I grew up in this industry, and even just more recently started at Legados Inversiones, where we build dignified homes here in Paraguay, kind of for first home buyers, and provide a lot of dignified work, and through the income also help sustain some of our nonprofit work here in the country. I know what it means to be cleaning concrete forms and being up on the top of roofs, trusses, and framing houses. A lot of the work here is concrete and brick. But I didn't grow up in the States. I grew up in Guatemala. My parents were missionaries there. Hablamos español perfectamente. I learned Spanish before English, and but yeah, Latin America has always been home for me, and where my 2 passions for both building and for helping people have come together. And a little bit going back, 2009. After a few years of studying in the U.S., I was invited to come to Paraguay for a short-term mission trip, and I was going to help a evangelistic ministry support local churches and be able to do feeding programs, discipleship programs for children. And I hit the ground, and the first thing that kind of came to my notice was, man, a lot of these houses here seem like the builders didn't really ever use any levels or plums, and there was a lot of rebar sticking out of the windows or off. The houses didn't ever seem to be finished. So I said, there's a lot of room for opportunity here for improvement, and I want to get my hands dirty. And but really, the second thing that really has changed my life was one day when I was in a squatter community, which is, the houses, the buildings are in lowlands where when it rains in the summer, in our monsoon season, every year the land floods and many of these homes flood. And I was out there one day with a local church doing a program with the kids, and next to that church there was a small business where Doña Maria sold rice and beans and cokes and just the day-to-day household recipe products that she shared with the community. So I went over there and I talked to Doña Maria, and the kind of, again, the entrepreneur in me wanted to know how she ran her business and how she started. And so I was curious and started asking questions. And Maria explained to me that she woke up very early in the morning, 4 o'clock, would go down to the marketplace. She would buy sell food and come to her community where she'd try as hard as she could to sell in her community. She would go door to door knocking, and she'd sell the products there from her home. And then she said, I have to sell every day so much because by late afternoon the loan shark comes and I have to be able to pay him. So that kind of caught my curiosity, and I asked Maria, well, what does that mean? What do you have to pay? And she says, well, I have to buy, the loan shark gave me about $150 in US dollars. And she says, I sell that throughout the day, but I have to make enough money to make that payment in the afternoon. And then what's left over, hopefully is enough for me and my family to eat. And so I asked her, Maria, what is the interest you're paying on this loan? And Maria didn't know. She didn't know how to calculate an interest rate. And so I sat down and I did the numbers with her and did the payment plan, and she didn't know it, but she was paying over 600% interest. And it hit me. I don't know about your businesses, guys, but I've never met a business that could survive with that level of interest rate. And it was a loan user that was taking advantage of her, and yet it was the only thing she knew. And so at that point I said, if people like Maria are trying to keep their kids alive and working so hard, but yet never getting ahead, working but not understanding why they're not able to provide for themselves, I said, I can't know this and do nothing about it. So that's where I decided to stay in Paraguay, make this a long-term journey, and really face the needs of the country. So in Paraguay, almost 24% of the country live in poverty. Only 3 out of 10 people have access to formal financing. And there's hundreds of thousands of people that need jobs. People come from the interior of the country, especially women, looking for work in the city, thinking that they'll have a better life, but find that with the unemployment and with their maybe lack of education, or they're not the most hireable people for the businesses, that they don't find dignified work. And so many of these people need to start their own small businesses to make ends meet. Many of the families we serve are single mothers. They're moms that take care of their kids through their work, and it really is this work that allows them to survive. And so as we started thinking about Doña Maria and how we could multiply this work, really microfinance came to us. I say we wanted to create a way to help people without creating dependencies. And so our purpose statement was made to help every person in Paraguay that is currently living in poverty, that they would understand the significance of God's love and discover their dignity and their hope. We want to give people jobs, and we want to share Jesus with every one of those people, so that they can flourish both here in their physical, in this world that we live in, and the brokenness of this world, but also eternally. And so we invest in microfinance. We form trust groups, which are groups of 15 to 20 people that come together. They receive that micro loan, $100 loan. They could start with as long as they're willing to work. We ask them, what do you have? What are you passionate about? How can we invest in your dreams? And we come alongside of them, and we create these groups that have mutual accountability. We meet each week in their homes or under their mango tree, wherever we can. And in each one of these groups, they support each other in a time of prayer, a time of fellowship, and a time of work together. And since that day in 2009, when we started in partnership with Hope International, today we've been able to start more than 400 of these groups, now serving actively over 7,000 people. We've been able to work with over 15,000 people over the last 12 years. And it's just been an amazing journey of helping people find opportunity. And one of these women is Diana. I want to share with you her story, because when I got together with Diana, it was pre-COVID, and she had been working at a factory in the city, and she would travel 2 buses, a couple hours into the city, and she would work over 12 hours a day. And if it was bad weather, then she couldn't come home. And if there was a lot of work, her formal boss wouldn't let her go home. And the neighbors would take care of her kids. And she heard about Diaconia, and she said, I just need a small loan to be able to get a used sewing machine so that I can make my own products and be able to sell in the community. And so we gave her a small loan, and she bought her first sewing machine was a used sewing machine, but she diligently worked morning and afternoons, just making clothing and fixing clothing. She started making uniforms for the local schools. And in 3 months, she paid off that loan, and then took a second loan, a little bit larger, and bought a new sewing machine. Paid that loan off and bought 2 sewing machines, and hired her husband as well to start working with her. And pretty soon they were making uniforms for the schools and the different parts of the city and for the community, and growing their small business. And what really struck me with Diana, though, is that when I met her, she lived in this little home, which was made out of the tin and pieces of wood and things, that scrap metal that they had found. And when it rained, water would pour into their house, and the mosquitoes would come in, and sicknesses and dengue fever and things like that. Other critters would come into their house. So with every loan that she took out, she would put a little bit aside and buy bricks and buy some cement. And she started building her own home. Over 4 years, she built this home. And the community came together, and Diana and the whole family doing the work. And in this last loan this year, she was able to put doors and windows in her home. Diana is so proud of their new home because they've worked hard, and then they've been able to break free from the weight of poverty, because they now have been able, they're now able to live in this home which they had dreamed about, but now they own. And it's people like Diana that get me up every morning. People like her that have dreams and just want a dignified job, be able to break free from poverty, and be able to take care of their families. And so we do this in the name of Christ. And in every meeting, we share Christ in practical ways. We share devotionals. We share times of prayer. And our dream and our hope is that we can continue to reach thousands of families more like Diana's, to be able to help them reach their dreams. So thank you for being with us today. And thank you for sharing this time where we get to figure out how to help more families like this. And from one builder to another, just thanks for being part of this journey.
Thank you, Judah. What I love most about Diana's story there is you could have built that home for her, right? But your purpose statement of wanting people to discover their dignity and their hope, she would not have been able to discover her dignity and her hope, the hope that she has in Jesus, but also to save up the money that she needed to over 4 years and build the home herself. Man, it's just an incredible story. Well, thank you so much, Judah. I really appreciate you. Our last speaker today is my good friend, Greg McCall. Greg is the president and CEO of McCall Homes, as well as another board member of Homes for Hope. We have a stellar team over here. He'd want me to tell you he's a co-owner of McCall Homes alongside his brother, Brad, and sister, Carolee. Greg is an experienced builder and a proud lifelong Montanan who adores raising his 4 kids along his wife, Erin, in the neighborhood that they conceived and built. Among the neighbors, he's commonly referred to as the mayor. And in the office, Greg manages the growing team at McCall Homes and helps Brad and Carolee plan the future of the company. He also showed up to the International Builder Show last year with a boatload of Montanan tea for my wife because I told him she liked it, and he wouldn't even let me pay him back for it. So what an incredible guy. On to you, Greg.
Thanks, Matt. Well, I mean, hey, who knew Montanans made tea? I guess I didn't know this even until Matt called me and said, hey, my wife really likes this tea. But folks, I just got to tell you, I was so excited, but so thankful to start seeing the screen start filling up with people today getting on this call. This call is being recorded. So, I mean, for those folks that don't get to see us live, you're going to get to hear it later. And so we hope that the people even on the call would be telling people this story and getting this out so we could get the word out, because we have a goal today. As a board member, I got to let you know that we want to raise some money today. We want to create more opportunity to invest in more dreams, and so we need to raise $260,000 with this time that we're here together, and we hope that could result in either giving or we would like 2 new additional Homes for Hope projects, and I'll tell you just briefly about that in a second. But real quick, I want to tell you a little bit about us. It makes me happy to see my buddy Jack Nolte on the call too, who was Matt's predecessor at Homes for Hope, and he came to me almost 10 years ago now and asked us if we would consider participating with Homes for Hope, and that was the first time I met this new family that I get to be a part of now, and at the time I was just blown away by what Homes for Hope was doing, what Hope International was doing. Hearing Jeff Rutt's story as a home builder who cared and went out and impacted all of these lives, I was floored by it. But I truly didn't believe that we were in a place financially that as a company we were organized enough to even do something like this. I really did have a lot of fear and uncertainty at the time that this was something that we just, as much as I would love to be a part of it, I didn't think we could. And when I was honest and vulnerable about that with the Homes for Hope team, they came beside me and said, well, what could we do to help you? They introduced me to fellow builders that were a part of the program that then shared techniques that would help us enhance our home building company. In short order, even getting to meet Jeff Rutt and going on a trip to the Dominican Republic with the Hope team and seeing in action what Hope was doing. I knew there was a way, even if financially it didn't make sense. I just got to love what Peter was saying to us. We are as home builders, we know this. We are in times of fear and uncertainty. This is really a crazy time to be a home builder, but can we show up? And that was that's the question he poses to us. Will we show up? I would just ask you, would you consider making a donation, consider building a home, and think of the dreams that you could impact? I want you to rethink about this idea of it not being a donation, because as it's been explained, that contribution, that investment, it's not a donation, it's an investment. It goes out and it comes back in again. Those original 12 loans that Jeff Rutt made happen in the Ukraine are still out there. They're still circulating. They're still impacting lives. As Judah, as you shared, man, you blow me away what's happening in Paraguay. 7,000 people you're working with, over 15,000 people you have worked with, but it continues to turn and go out there. So would you consider, as a home builder, how when we think we don't even know if we've got enough to cover that, how would you think that your trades and your vendors and your suppliers might feel? But what if you gave them the opportunity to be a part of something that is so much bigger than what you could do or they could do individually? We've been able to now build 3 Homes for Hope in our company, and we're getting ready to start our 4th. And we would just invite you, come alongside us. Give your team that opportunity. Build a house locally that can impact lives globally. You can be the change agent of culture in your own community, with your own trades, with your own employees, but you can change lives around the world. Fear and uncertainty is really a time for us to have courage and to show up. And so thanks, Peter, for sharing that message. Would we be able to bring up, there's a QR code. We would like, if you click on that, you'll have the opportunity to possibly donate. You could also sign up to do a Homes for Hope house. And certainly the team here at Homes for Hope would be able to reach out and discuss the details of what that could look like. Thank you for everybody getting on today. There's more to come, but I just wanted to say thank you for Matt for allowing me to get to speak today too. We really appreciate what you guys do.
Thanks, Craig. Let's go ahead and leave that slide up while we close out our meeting here. One thing I wanted to say, $260,000. That's we've been in existence for 26 years, right? $260,000 isn't an urgent plea for you to save us as an organization. Like, we need this money in order to keep going. We're going to be here next year and in future years. Like Peter said at the beginning, we're growing as an organization. And like what Greg was just saying, we want you to come with us. That $260,000 will enable us as an organization to serve 10,400 families next year in 2024. And even more beyond that, as Judah was saying, the loans, people join solidarity groups, cross guarantee each other's loans. They pay the loans back, and then that gets sent back out as more loans, increasing in impact over time. So that's what that number is about. Pray about it. We'd love for you to join us. And I want to thank you in advance for your generosity and your partnership in the mission of Homes for Hope. If you're like me at all, Greg mentioned the trip as well. You may feel the need to vet us as an organization before further choosing to partner with us in a significant way. If that's the case, we recently extended the deadline to register for our early February Homes for Hope trip to the Dominican Republic. And you can register for that up until December 4th, which is next week. So I want you to come with me to the Dominican Republic for a short yet comprehensive firsthand experience where you'll meet the talented entrepreneurs we have the privilege of serving, who you heard about today, the incredible people who serve them, and see for yourself if we are who we say we are. Put us to the test. If you'd like to learn more about the trip, just use the Start a Homes for Hope project button at the link we shared here with the QR code. It opens up an email to me where you can ask for more information. Thanks again for investing in hope.